back, me, him, and this time we have the excellent David Danto with us, all the way from, you're in Jersey, aren't you, sir?
Yes, Central Jersey, in my basement.
So the idea with this is kind of following on from the pub, and I wanted to go off on one when we started talking interop, and you guys stopped me. So
the timer stopped you.
No, you stopped me.
No, the timer stopped
you. stopped me. So what I did is I bought some backup because David can talk to me all about interop. So we're going to bring you in with one of your many hats and years of experience in this. And I'm trying to think, where do we start from an interop point of view?
It's interesting. I was working on decks this morning for, as we record this, next week's collaboration week, Silicon Valley, and I still want to do one in the UK, but we'll get to that as soon as you guys work out that little Brexit thingy. But I wanted to come up with a page to introduce the topic of interoperability to that audience. And are you guys familiar with the Dr. Seuss book, One Fish, Two Fish, Red Fish, Blue Fish?
Oh,
you
yeah.
must have. Do you remember the picture of two guys trying to talk on the phone and the mouse who kind of chewed the wire in the middle of it so that they can't hear each other even though they're standing next to each other? And it dawned on me, that's the best slide. That's, everybody's using expensive gear and they've got everything they want. They've bought into all of the I'll send you the clip if you want to edit it in, but everybody's bought into this idea that they're buying all this stuff, and ever since the breakup of the Bell system, there is no standards. Most manufacturers would rather see the other ones die than be interoperable with them, and it puts all the users in the middle of this crazy storm that should never exist.
I'll always agree with that. I think you're slightly different in a way, and I know that. But for me, interop is probably more important than anything. I don't, coming from video only, my inter AV, my road was via VC. And interop was king. We had every manufacturer.
But it didn't work.
But it genuinely did.
When? What day? Under what condition?
Well, all right. So depending on who installed it, it would. But it did. It did. We used to talk about it all the time, and we had
like Sony's bonding.
Work. No, I'm not having. It didn't work, and it was a step away.
Cloud.
We had it, and it did work. We had, fair enough. Yes, they may have been really expensive, and they were on-premise MCUs, but it did work. You can't tell that it did. You can't say that it didn't work when you look at how it used SIP and H323 back then. Okay, H323 has been around, 50-something years now for the telephone system. SIP is now the new digitised telephone system. It works. It's what you use for phone A to ring phone B, so the platforms worked. Yes, there were some problems with the way that it may have been implemented, but if it was done right, as a standard that it should have been, it worked.
You've referred to this before, and it's in David's show twice. The Connected AV Nation TV show, and David Madlow, the Let's Do Video guy, refers to a table session with all of the heads of all of the vendors, and he says, you guys can go in a room now and sort this out. And I think it was Logitech that reminded him, but they're not going to.
Yeah. And that, isn't that the worst bit?
For the most part, now they don't want to. In the 90s and the early 2000s, we had just started to get interop working to the point where, I wouldn't say it was 100%, but it was probably in the 80% or so. And then we had the whole telepresence phenomenon where, it's got to be 3 screens. It's got to be, the Cisco had their standard and it was different than the regular standard, and it was TIP, and it was, and then it was all about, well, you can't be interoperable with the old devices because that would kill the experience. Well, that was their way of saying, now we're not going to do it, and then nobody bought it. So they said, oh, did we say we weren't going to do it? Oh, okay, fine, we'll put that in there. And they did it with a RadVision bridge, and then they went out and bought Tandberg, and they did it with that. So, we got closer and closer and closer, and now that we're in the same type of hype storm that the telepresence bubble had, we're now in with this team chat platform where everything's got to be us on our team chat, whether you're talking about, whichever team's platform you're talking about. And we're further away now than we were back then. with this idea that, in order to be compatible on our entire platform, you have to be just on our platform, and we don't want to talk to anybody else. But if we are going to talk to somebody else, we're going to do it using WebRTC or something that forces you onto our platform. And, that's not going to last either. And I don't hold any of the manufacturers at fault for wanting to be the dominant player in the industry. That's their job. We're just going to get that bubble away and back to the point, again, I believe we are endpoints and user experiences that, again, are just simple and just work no matter which cloud platform you're on, are going to dominate the industry. As soon as, one company does it, like, my company has started to go in that direction, you're going to see more companies go in that direction because they have to. Because why would you buy, a mobile phone that only called one mobile network when another company is making a mobile phone that can call all the other mobile networks? It just won't survive in the marketplace. That's the direction we're going in. So I'm confident that we're going to get there, but you're right, there hasn't been any incentive to do it until somebody steps up and says we are.
And for me, that's the biggest thing of this, is it's not that it won't happen, and I agree, I truly think it will. In whatever guise that it does, it will happen. The bit that grates me the most right now is we're further away than we have been. Because these new platforms are doing what they are, it is an absolute step back. Categorically, it's a step back.
So Sunday's just gone, AV in the AM, Chris Danto, and I've heard it on David's podcast as well. There's this common theme of the users will define the future strategy. That's the thing I'm confused about. And David, what are the users going to define? I can't get my crystal ball out on that one.
All right, let me try and give you my perspective on why I said those comments. I've been with Poly a whole 8 months now. Prior to that, I was a consultant for 7 years, and the whole 30 years prior to that, I was in an end-user role in financial services and broadcasting. I was the guy managing the infrastructure, dealing with the problems, and I learned from my mistakes in that space. One of the mistakes that managers of that space make is that they try and figure out what their typical user needs, and then they deploy what they think is the best product in the industry after doing a shootout or research or whatever, and they deploy the best product for the typical user. That strategy fails 100% of the time for two reasons. One, there is no typical user. Every organization has a blend of different types of users that have different needs. And two, even if you get, and trust me, I've worked at some of the biggest banks in the world, even if you get it right for 90% of the people, of the 10% that you didn't get it right for, their complaints will knock you out of a job. You'll be sitting at your desk sending emails and following up with memos and apologizing because even though the 90% situation works fine, that 10%, the one managing director or senior person that can't make his call kills you. You spend your life working on it. So what that means to me when I say the end users will determine it is even if I absolutely love brand X communication and I use all their devices and all their systems and put in any industry name you want, Zoom, Blue Jeans, Microsoft, Cisco, whatever, even if you're 100% committed that that's the best platform, 10% of your people are going to get a call request on another platform. And if it doesn't work, we'll all be chasing our tails again as if we accomplished nothing. The only solution that's going to work is if you're on cloud number 1 for a 10 o'clock call and cloud number 2 for a 10:30 call and cloud number 3 for an 11 o'clock call. That's got to just work. How will we get there? I'm not 100% sure. I know I love the way Poly's new products are coming out. We've announced that we're natively compatible with the Poly OS, which is SIP and H323. We're natively compatible with Zoom. That means if you order this endpoint as a Zoom room and you take it out of the box and you press the button, when it boots up in a minute, it looks like a Zoom room. You don't know any better. And there will be more platform announcements even before the end of this year of other people coming on board. But that's going to kind of be the answer, is no matter which cloud you're on, the device you've picked, whether it's your desktop, your mobile, or your room system, will just work with it. Now, that's not the end. That's not where the story ends. Okay, so if you're going to be able to do calls on Zoom and on Teams and on whatever else, whose calendar are you using? Who wins the invitation? How do you let the room know to boot that before you've walked into it? There's still a lot of things the industry needs to work out. And by the way, whoever works that out, they're the winner. Whoever figures out how I walk into a room and whether you're scraping my mobile and see my calendar or it's in my Exchange or whatever it is, that it automatically says, here's your on button, Dave. I know what your next call is going to be about. I figured it out. Just press go. And I don't agree with the people that say just have it up on the screen, because maybe the janitor walks into the room. So it's got to be something that's an opt-in as opposed to Big Brother. Whoever figures that out, that's going to be the future. And these things are all going to have to work together, because the ones that don't will start to fall by the wayside in favor of the ones that do.
I agree with that, because you think about it from an interop point of view. The bit I think that I've got my bee in my bonnet about more is the rooms. It's not your mobile, it's not your desktop, because they can do it. It may be a flavour of WebRTC, it may be booting a web browser or a client or whatever. But your devices are made to...
A very low footprint.
But your devices are made to do that. If that technology is now available here, why is it not available in the room? Irrelevant of how you do it. Whatever the OS is, whatever the computer is, whatever the system is, you don't need that it has to be this to do it. Everybody should be able to do it.
Is apps still the word then?
Apps, well, I don't know. Apps is what would work now.
Yeah.
But in my head, it's AI. AI is what's going to work going forward. Which is that, like David says, you don't want the Big Brother bit. You just want to be recognised as the person coming into this meeting. You've given it the credentials and the capability to join a meeting, and it knows, and it goes, "Hey, Noel, welcome to your meeting. Do you want me to start it?" Oh, the giant will walk in. It doesn't do anything.
It's a good point. When I bought tickets for a show, it appears in me diary now, and I didn't put it there.
It's the little things that we love, right? It's magic. But that is so right. I would love that, and it's mad. I've said it so many times. I want my own Jarvis, and I'm not being a fool when I say that. I may not want it to the level of Jarvis, but I want that. I want to walk in and it knows you're you. You've got a meeting at this time. Just knock on.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is all of that data exists. It exists today. If you look at my mobile and you look at the invitation to this conference that we're having right now, it immediately gives the dialing instructions. It immediately identifies which platform it is and how to connect to it. I read that and then know to go to the right thing. How hard is it going to be for us to come up with machine learning and AI to safely get that information and say, oh, well, today I have to invoke a bridge, or, oh, today I have to invoke some type of exchange, or I can dial it natively, or whatever. That's where this industry is going. The word that we'll hear a lot more of, and I've said this at Infocom on David Maldo's webcast, is frictionless. We're going to get these frictionless experiences. And once we get at that point, then we'll start to figure out the elegances. Well, how do we share interoperability on chat? There are a couple of platforms that are doing that, like Mio and a few others. And how do we share interoperability on file share? Because I'm using a platform that has a different way of saving files and doing whiteboarding. There's never 100% solution, but I love the direction we're going, and I love our new products because, I think we really heard what the users want, and we're giving them something that's simple, easy, and platform agnostic.
See, and I agree when you said like the messaging and the file transfer. Like I said, that's the elegance of it. That's the clever stuff. That's further down the line. Right now, I would be happy with voice, video, and content. Does it have to have all the other bells and whistles right now? If you know you're going from platform A to platform B, a bare minimum should be voice, video, and content.
And it knowing that you're there. Because whichever platform you're registered to, I'm buying into this.
But it's not rocket science. There are systems out there now that if I put a proximity sensor in the room, it knows the room has been booked and it's booked for VC, so it boots it into VC mode. It knows there's no VC booked, so it just boots it into local presentation mode. It's only an extra step that says boot into VC mode, and make that call for me.
Yes.
Or understand what type of call it is, do a quick jig of the system, and then make that call for me. It's not like we're starting again.
Then you don't need Interop.
Well, no, because it's doing it itself in that respect. There is still Interop in a way that there may be a gateway.
Not Interop like we know.
But no, you don't. The user, it's invisible to them. They don't know that they're using a bridge or not. It's just a case of the system uses whichever backend it needs to use.
Exactly. And if you, again, I always love bringing it back to the concept of telephony, because telephony has it solved. The reason telephony has it solved is because most of our telephone schemas were designed when AT&T, the Bell system, was a monopoly, and they just forced it out to everybody. When that was broken up in the 1960s and 70s, and Judge Green divested the Bell system, that's when it all became, every man for himself. But pick up your mobile. This is my iPhone 7. Sorry, guys, I always stay old. If I get a call on Microsoft Teams on this, I answer it. And it works, and it uses one speaker and one microphone and one display. But if I get a call on Zoom on this, it works. Same speaker, same microphone, same display. But you know what? I'm now with AT&T as a carrier in the U.S. Let's say I move to where you guys are, and I want to switch to O2 or Vodafone or whatever the local carriers are there. I don't have to throw this out. I can go to them and say, hey, can I go onto your system? Now, if you extrapolate that entire pattern over to where we are in collaboration and conferencing, I think, and not everybody does, but I think that's the future of it, that we sell hardware, that the hardware is an endpoint, the endpoint can connect to every cloud, it doesn't lock me into a platform, and then rather than the platforms pushing out their own hardware, you get to a situation where, you know what, my platform is not serving me, I'm going to keep my hardware, and I'm going to go to another platform that's cheaper or gives better service or has better of the bells and whistles we were talking about, like file sharing and anything else, but the user makes the choice. And, if you want to do that with a compute platform like a PC or a Mac, terrific. You want to do that with a compute platform like iOS or Android, terrific. I'm not saying what you have to use. I'm saying it's that schema, that model that I believe is going to move from telephony into our industry.
And on that bombshell.
That was a perfect conclusion. I'm having that.
Yeah, that's it. Lovely. David, you've summed it up for me. To get the bits that were bugging me sorted. We're not there yet, but it feels like we're not far away. Thanks for joining us, my friend. I look forward to meeting you in person at Infocom, and we'll see you soon.